father is mute, and at the moment his daughter was dragged into the kidnapper's van, he couldn't even shout, "Stop!" What's even crueler is that the police told him to wait, the city told him to endure, the villains treated children like cargo, and even the kidnapped children were forced to help trick the next victim. Watching his daughter being dragged into a hellhole that no one dared to touch, you want me to follow the rules? Fine. Since the rules are useless, I will tear a hole through this city with my own hands. Wang Wei chose the latter. He is not a hero, nor does he want to be. He is just a father. When anger blinds the eyes, the path must be carved out with blood. Somewhere in Southeast Asia, a journalist named Mattia is investigating a series of child disappearances. The police say the cases are unrelated, but she discovers that all the missing children come from impoverished neighborhoods. No one cares where they go, and no one asks who took them, because in this city, when a poor child goes missing, the news sinks almost immediately. Mattia refuses to believe it. She tells everyone on her live stream that this is not an accident, but organized kidnapping. She even tracks down a van and attempts to infiltrate the trafficker's lair, but she underestimated the madness of these people. In the darkness, someone discovers her, and the chase begins. She runs for her life, but is eventually cornered.
That boy is dead because of you.
A second later, she is taken. Meanwhile, in the same city, Wang Wei has no idea that this evil is about to burn his own world. He is a mute handyman. His daughter, Rainey, is returning home after summer vacation. The little girl uses her phone to film her father at work, telling him he's smart and handsome, and insisting he make a heart gesture. But when the camera pans, she sees an old man on the street being bullied by thugs, while her father pulls her away. Rainey doesn't understand. In her eyes, her father isn't calm. He's a coward. He isn't mature. He's avoiding trouble. The rift between father and daughter had been growing for a long time. Wang Wei always pushed her to practice martial arts and cut her hair short, saying it would make training easier. Rainey, however, felt that her classmates laughed at her for looking like a tomboy, and that no one would ever like her. Wang Wei's message was simple. He would rather his daughter be able to protect herself than just be pretty. But what Rainey wanted most wasn't to be pretty, nor was it martial arts. She wanted her father by her side. At that moment, Wang Wei wanted to chase after her, but someone held him back. No one expected that this one moment of letting go would lead to a near-fatal separation. Rainey was walking alone on the street when a Chinese-speaking boy ran up to her for help, claiming his sister had been hit by a car, his parents were away, and he begged for her assistance. Rainey's heart softened, and she followed him into an alley. But she soon realized something was wrong. Several men rushed out and dragged her into a van. When Wang Wei arrived, all he saw was his daughter screaming for him, but the door had already slammed shut. He chased after them, bruised and bleeding, only to secure a meager lead. The most devastating moment for a father is not being unable to defeat the villains. It is seeing his daughter calling for help and being unable to reach her. Wang Wei rushed into the police station covered in blood, writing down the license plate number and the suspect's description. But the police told him to sit down and wait, citing regulations. Even more ironically, they couldn't find any records of Wang Wei, and instead suspected him of being a fugitive appearing out of thin air. The city's rules are very clear. Children can be snatched, but a father cannot take matters into his own hands. Elsewhere, Naveen is searching for his own family in his own way. He poses as a buyer to infiltrate Mr. Song's territory. Mr. Song is one of the biggest human traffickers in the city, with a network of children, logistics, and buyers, protected by an ironclad system. Naveen lies, claiming that Eastport fishing boats need 30 children, offering to pay cash at 3 times the market rate, but with one condition.
I have to handpick them myself.
The moment those words left his mouth, even Mr. Song was stunned. To them, 30 children are not human beings. They are a truckload of cargo. Mr. Song suspects Naveen as a cop, but the money is too tempting, so he prepares to show Naveen the goods. That is precisely when Wang Wei bursts in. A mute father, covered in wounds and wielding a gun, tears through the trafficker's private party. Thugs swarm him. Bottles, fists, and tables fly. Wang Wei says nothing, but every punch lands like a cry for his daughter's pain.
Boss! May lalaki sa baba, may dalang baril!
The scene descends into chaos, and Naveen is drawn into the melee as Mr. Song's men scream to kill him. They meet for the first time, not with trust, but in the heat of survival. Naveen realizes Wang Wei is looking for someone too, and immediately tells him he isn't with them. Wang Wei is looking for his daughter, Naveen for his wife. Drawn together by the same dark chain, these two temporary allies start digging deeper into the abyss. Meanwhile, Rainey is locked in the trafficker's stronghold. She realizes the boy who tricked her is also a captive. To survive, the boy helps the villains lure others. Rainey angrily asks him, "Are you helping them hurt others just for a piece of chocolate? Do you think they'll ever let you go home?" The little boy breaks down. He curses Rainey for walking into a trap, calls her naive, and screams that she has no idea how people survive here. This isn't just an argument between two children, it is the most wicked aspect of this den of demons. It doesn't just kidnap children, it forces them to become accomplices. Wang Wei and Naveen arrive at Naveen's hideout. It is filled with the files Mattia left behind. Naveen tells Wang Wei that his wife had discovered the Song Syndicate was constantly moving children, dodging investigations while hunting for new buyers. Wang Wei sees a refrigerated truck in a photograph. This truck makes deliveries everywhere. The cargo area is insulated and soundproof. Driving through the streets in broad daylight, no one would ever suspect it might be filled with children. The most terrifying thing about these traffickers is not that they hide in the darkness, but that they disguise their evil as part of the city's daily routine. The trail leads to a factory outside the city. The moment they arrive, Wang Wei wants to charge in, but Naveen holds him back. There could be hundreds of children inside. Rushing in blindly would only tip them off. Wang Wei writes 3 words, "No more time." Then he writes 4 more, "Diversionary tactics." And so, the two begin to blast their way through a path of blood. Inside the factory, thugs charge at them one by one, and Wang Wei fights like a wild beast ignited. Naveen is no longer just a journalist. He fights alongside Wang Wei, charging into the fray. There is no grace in this battle, only pain. Fists crush bone, bodies shatter glass, and blades graze faces. Every time Wang Wei pauses, it's as if he's listening for his daughter's voice. They finally corner Mr. Song. Wang Wei wants to kill him, but Naveen stops him. Because Song is their only lead, if he dies, Rainey can never be found. Naveen pressures Mr. Song, demanding to know where Mattia is. Mr. Song remains stubborn until Naveen reveals his wife's photo, at which point his composure cracks. Mr. Song admits he only heard about the journalist from the Snake Den. The Snake Den, a place from which no one ever escapes. And by now, Rainey is already inside the Snake Den. It is like a building forgotten by the city, where children are locked in rooms, some with broken legs, others long past the point of dreaming of home. Rainey wants to escape, but the little boy urges her not to put them all in danger, saying resistance only brings torture. Rainey retorts, "If we don't escape, we're dead anyway." The boy says he has no home, and his last relative was killed by them. Rainey doesn't scold him. She says, "If we find a way out, we go together." These words save more than just one person. They save a child who had been driven by darkness to trust no one.
Yeah.
Naveen decides to expose the Snake Den. Using Mattia's account, he starts a live stream, telling everyone that kidnapped children are being held here, and that Mattia may have been held here too. He pleads with those watching the stream to share the footage. A mission a journalist couldn't finish is being carried on by another. The fire his wife ignited finally reaches the streets. Inside the police station, someone sees the stream. Crowds begin to gather at the Snake Den. The police chief arrives on the scene, but his first instinct is not to save the children, but to clear the crowd. He orders everyone to back off, attempting to stop the operation, but the children are right there, on the upper floors. The cameras are recording, and their cries are ringing in everyone's ears. Meanwhile, Mr. Song escapes, only to be caught by Pak Lung.
Where you going, Mr. Song?
Wang Wei finally finds Rainey. At the moment of their reunion, there are no wasted words. Rainey cries and apologizes, and Wang Wei holds her tight.
We gotta get out of here. They're coming. Come on.
But Rainey immediately says she has to go back to save the others. There are many more children locked up, and they will be beaten to death. Naveen tells Wang Wei to take her and go, and that he will stay behind. But they do not leave. The father and daughter turn back because Rainey refuses to abandon her friends. The boy who once tricked her finally understands that he doesn't have to be a tool for the villains anymore.
你就算没有家，也可以有朋友。走。
Let's go.
They lead the children toward the exit, but the building is too tall, and the stairwell is blocked. Rainey and the other children search for ropes, tie knots, and construct a crude escape route. Down below, the crowd roars, demanding that the police save the children. Up above, one child after another escapes down the rope. Some are terrified, some are shivering, and some slip, but everyone screams, "Hold on!" This is no longer just a father saving his daughter. This is a daughter beginning to save other children.
喂，快点，到你了！快走！你之前救过我，算我还你！快走！
Officer Yadong can no longer stand by. She defies her orders and leads her team inside. Some wear uniforms but stand on the side of darkness. Some defy orders for the first time and only then truly become police officers. The snake den is breached, the children are rescued, and the evils of the Song Syndicate are finally exposed to the sunlight. The news begins to report that the police have rescued dozens of kidnapped children from the West District building, a property belonging to local mogul Kun Tai Luo, though managed by his son-in-law, Pak Lung. Of course, Pak Lung denies everything. His company claims it will launch a thorough investigation, acting as if everything was merely a case of poor management. But behind closed doors, the truth is far less respectable. Pak Lung is brought before Kun Tai Luo, with everyone blaming him for botching things. Kun Tai Luo says he entrusted his daughter to him, but that Pak Lung wouldn't even spare the children. It makes him sick.
So when I make you money, I'm family, but when shit hits the fan, I disgust you?
Boss, I told you, this kid was trouble.
Pak Lung kills Kun Tai Luo, tearing away the hypocrisy within this black chain of interests. Family, investment, and respectability. It was all built on the bones of children. As long as the money was flowing, they were a family. The moment things were exposed, someone had to be thrown out to take the fall. Wang Wei is taken to the police station for questioning. Yadong tells him she can verify it was self-defense, but he cannot be released formally yet. He must wait for bail. She asks Wang Wei who he really is. Wang Wei leaves only one sentence: "I'm just a father." The words aren't loud, but they carry more weight than any shout. But the story isn't over. Wang Wei and Naveen are at the police station. Naveen finally talks about the night Mattia went missing. He and his wife had argued, and she stormed out. He had originally wanted to leave the country, find a safe place, and raise a family. Ultimately, he admits he just wanted to protect himself. But Mattia was different. She wanted to find every missing child. Only after she was gone did Naveen realize how close she had come to the truth. He says, "If I ever find her, I hope she can forgive me." But fate denies him even that comfort. Pak Lung and Tak arrive.
Boss, 5 minutes.
They move through the room like bloodthirsty killers, like shadows. They aren't just here to silence witnesses, but to exact revenge.
Don't make a sound. Put down your weapon!
Pak Lung says he was about to be a father too, but they stripped that away from him. The giant charges in, roaring that Pak Lung killed his father, Mr. Song. It turns out the giant was a henchman raised by Mr. Song, thrown into fighting pits since childhood, treated like a joke, beaten until his mind was broken. But he had always viewed Mr. Song as his father. Pak Lung shatters his illusion directly. That cowboy was never your father. You aren't his son. You were just a tool to be used.
No, father!
The most fatal blow comes when Tak pulls out a ring. It is Mattia's ring. Tak says, "That journalist died slowly. She suffered quite a bit." Naveen hears this, and his entire being seems to be hollowed out. He searched for so long, traveled so far, and he finally found his wife, only to discover it in this way. He collapses in a pool of blood, repeating over and over, "I found her. This is no victory. It is a funeral long overdue." The final battle between Wang Wei and Pak Lung is no longer a standard fight. One is a father fighting for his daughter to live, the other a madman who has turned his pain into slaughter. Pak Lung wants to make Wang Wei taste the agony of watching his daughter die, and he drags Rainey into this torture to break Wang Wei. Wang Wei is knocked down time and again, his head slamming into the floor, blood blurring his vision. Rainey cries, begging him to stop, to not get hit anymore. In that moment, all the endurance, silence, guilt, and rage that came before are poured into his fists. He isn't trying to prove how well he can fight. He is simply trying to bring his daughter home. In one near-death counterattack after another, he completely destroys the killer. Pak Lung walks into the rain, lost in his own hallucinations.
Hey, I gotta go home.
Naveen didn't survive, and Mattia will never return, but the live stream they ignited saved those children who would have otherwise vanished into the darkness. A month later, Wang Wei, Rainey, the little boy, and Yadong scatter Naveen's ashes into the sea. Rainey asks her father if he can tell her his story. Wang Wei looks at her and begins to talk about the first time he met her mother. The film ends without fully stitching up the wounds. The dead will not return, and the kidnapped children will not immediately forget their fear. But at least, someone ripped open that den of demons, and someone pulled those children out of the darkness. When anger blinds the eyes, people may turn into beasts. But Wang Wei's rage was not meant to destroy the world. It was to seize back a path home for the children in a world that has gone rotten to the core. If one day, the rules cannot protect the innocent, will you continue to wait for an answer? Or will you be like Wang Wei and become the answer yourself?